Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. I'm Sally Burdett, live from Johannesburg. Your top stories this evening. A Durban University of Technology student has been killed, apparently during clashes today with campus protection personnel. Millions allocated for drought-stricken farmers has gone missing in KwaZulu-Natal. 4 years on, authorities say they will make arrests soon. And in Zimbabwe, footage smuggled out of the country shows how citizens are being intimidated and arrested after the recent fuel hike protests. Let's start here. One student is dead this evening after clashes at the Durban University of Technology. Now, police have confirmed that a 20-year-old has died after a fight broke out between students and university security guards earlier today. The clashes occurred at the Steve Biko campus. It's understood that protection service members fired 3 shots during the scuffle. The student later died in hospital. A bystander is also believed to have been shot at. 4 students have been arrested. Classes at DUT remain suspended. Here's the Student Representative Council.
Yes, you can confirm that a student was shot by a security guard, which is under DUT, or they may claim that it's a private company, but whatever, they're working with DUT. We can confirm that a student has been shot and he passed on at the hospital. We as the SRC came to the Department of Protection to lay a complaint. I personally wrote the affidavit, so we're waiting for them to take action.
Protests are taking place at a number of universities across the country. The students' main concerns are debt, the registration process and a lack of accommodation. In Johannesburg, a group of Wits students is threatening a total shutdown if those owing the university money aren't allowed to register this year. Many students are now sleeping in the university's Great Hall as they've nowhere else to go. Linda Kuhle has the details.
Nowhere to stay. This is the harsh reality for most returning students with outstanding fees. Thousands of them across the country are financially excluded because of debts from previous years. Wits students who have spent weeks camped out like this feel they've been let down by the government.
As a young person, it really feels painful. It's painful because obviously we're being failed as black people, as young people.
Student leaders are now on a hunger strike, demanding student debts be overlooked when registering. The SRC is vowing to bring the university to a standstill.
Should the hunger strike not be a success, we are saying that we are going to shut down the university. The VC is not here currently, he's in Cape Town. We demand him to come back and deal with this dilemma in his university.
But the university is saying it simply cannot afford to do this with its debt already in the hundreds of millions. It's promising to ensure the rights of those who want to continue studying amidst the threats of a shutdown will be protected.
We are under obligation as university management to in fact protect the rights of others who want to come and study here.
Wits says it's already allocated 10 million rands to help some of these students. But as it stands, many face the reality of having to return home without being able to continue their studies. Linda Kuhle, Johannesburg.
Thankful for a second chance at life. That's how some pupils at Hoërskool Driehoek feel after last week's tragic walkway collapse. 4 pupils died, 20 more were injured, many of them still recovering in hospital. Now, 17-year-old Royden Olkers pushed 2 grade 8 pupils out of harm's way and saved 2 of his peers from the collapsing concrete walkway. Sadly, Royden himself died in that collapse. Now, Caitlin Harris and Denise Fourie managed to escape unharmed. He's been described, Royden Olkers, as a hero.
Ons het almal by die trappe gestaan reg na sy opening. Toe het hy ons getik, toe draai ons om, toe fluister hy iets, maar ons kon nie mooi hoor wat hy sê nie. Toe volgende oomblik, toe vat hy ons aan ons skouers, toe stamp hy ons, dat ons op die trappe val, maar toe ons weer kyk, toe lê hy op die grond.
Let's move now to KwaZulu-Natal, and over 200 million rand meant for drought-stricken farmers in that province has gone missing. Authorities are investigating but have no answers or suspects as yet. Meanwhile, the water crisis is far from over in the province. Sipamandla Goge reports.
It's been 4 years, but no one knows what happened to the 220 million rand given by national government to KwaZulu-Natal for drought relief. The province was declared a disaster area following a crippling drought in 2015.
We should be able to finalize those investigations fairly soon, because we want to ensure that when monies are appropriated for a particular need in the communities, monies are spent where they are supposed to be spent.
What's more, residents from 7 of the province's districts must now brace themselves for more water cuts.
We are looking at the water restrictions that may be imposed to all the consumers, both domestic and the business consumers. Water conservation campaigns are continuing amongst various communities on an ongoing basis.
And farmers are bearing the brunt of the crisis.
It is impacting very badly, both to the subsistence farmers as well as the commercial farmers are impacted by this negative situation.
The National Disaster Management Centre is now allocating a further 120 million rand for drought relief, even though authorities can't account for the money they previously received. Sipamandla Goge, Durban.
Well, perhaps the missing drought relief money will be something the State Capture Commission will ultimately have to probe. Today, the inquiry heard from a newspaper editor who detailed how he was threatened over his paper's Bosasa stories. News 24 editor-in-chief Adrian Basson believes the controversial facilities management company was running an operation to silence him. Now, he says he received threatening calls during his investigation into Bosasa.
There was a period during that time when I started receiving calls on my cellular phone. I remember still saving these numbers after the calls, using terms like Bosasa Angry 1, Bosasa Angry 2. The purpose of these calls, or the message of these calls, were always a person claiming that they are a Bosasa employee, and then saying to me that I, Adrian, are threatening their jobs, that I will cause them to lose their jobs, that I must stop my writing, I must stop my reportage on Bosasa.
Self-proclaimed prophet Shepherd Bushiri is bringing in a legal powerhouse to help with his defence. Oscar Pistorius' lawyer, advocate Barry Rue, will appear for the controversial pastor in court tomorrow. Bushiri and his wife are charged with fraud and money laundering. The couple was arrested by the Hawks at their luxury hotel on Friday. But the Bushiri family could soon be homeless. That's if the asset forfeiture unit has its way. The controversial leader of the Enlightened Christian Gathering Church owns various properties, cars and even a private jet. Bushiri and his wife are expected to apply for bail tomorrow in the Specialised Commercial Crimes Court in Pretoria. His faithful followers are vowing to return to court to support him. Still ahead on eNews, we'll have that expose, images of a brutal crackdown in Zimbabwe.
And in your business news, the rand has managed to hold its own against a slightly stronger US dollar. We find out why.
Time for business now. And Rafi, it was very interesting listening to the president speaking at the mining indaba today. He says mining is not a sunset industry, it's a sunrise industry. Had so many positive things to say. Music to investors' ears?
Absolutely music to investors' ears, Salian. I mean, in fact, it's the first time a president in the country attends the mining indaba and says what he needs to say to reassure investors and to also lock down those deals. So he did indicate that there has been an uptick in investment, with 3 major global mining firms investing within the country's mining sector. But the biggest issue in terms of getting more investment is energy security. So we've got our issues with Eskom from, and the president actually had a very stern stance in terms of the future of the power utility and what the government plans to do with that. Let's have a listen.
We have been giving detailed attention to the crisis and the challenges that our electricity company Eskom is facing. Eskom is currently facing significant operational, financial and structural challenges. Its contribution to the health of our economy is just far too great for it to be allowed to fail. Eskom is just too important, and in a number of ways it is too big also to be made to fail. And we will not allow Eskom to fail.
Too important to fail. Also interesting how he spoke about the importance of collaboration between business, labour and government. They're making headway, and also reassurances about security of land and property. So really saying all the right things. Let's hope the market...
Implementation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But he certainly means business there. Bad news for us, of course, and we've got less than 4 hours to fill up. Another petrol hike on the cards.
That's right, Sally. At midnight, we will be seeing an increase. It's marginal, about 7 cents a litre for 95 and 93 petrol. And this is obviously because of that weaker rand that we saw at the end of December to the end of January. It wasn't helped by the stronger oil price, which has been boosted by an increase in supply. And this is obviously due to those sanctions that are in Venezuela. So there's all the supply of oil, and because of lower global growth, there's a lack of demand. And China as well, which is the second largest importer of oil, is no longer needing it because its economy is not growing as fast as it should be. So there's all this oil, but there's no one to buy it. So there's this uptick in the oil price that we're seeing. So we might see more pressure on the consumer with the oil price as we move forward.
Okay, and with that, let's take a look at the markets.
So let's have a look at those markets indeed, Sally. So the JSE ended the day on a positive note, and the positivity was mainly driven by the retailers and the financial sector. But traders are still cautious as they wait for that all-important State of the Nation address on Thursday. On the commodities front, that stronger oil price, as we've just mentioned, has unfortunately led to a petrol price hike. Brent crude has edged up on the back of fresh oil supply cuts and the US sanctions on Venezuela. Meanwhile, the gold price is still feeling the brunt of the stronger US dollar. And the rand is stronger against the US dollar today, and it is expected rather to remain at current levels of between 13 Rand 30 and 13 Rand 50 against the greenback this week, as most Asian markets are closed for the lunar year.
Thank you very much, Rafiel. We'll chat again to you tomorrow.
Thanks.
Let's move now to Zimbabwe, and growing concerns that human rights abuses by state security agents are continuing. Recent footage that investigative program Checkpoint has received and verified paints a very grim picture. The president has pledged to investigate the latest violence sparked by protests over a 150% petrol price hike last month. But many Zimbabweans fear that life under Emmerson Mnangagwa is no different to what it was under Robert Mugabe.
This scene could be a flashback to 2005's Operation Murambadzvena. That was when Robert Mugabe's security forces targeted informal settlements in an opposition stronghold. Except this happened just a few days ago. And it's not the only pain being inflicted on Zimbabwean citizens by the supposedly new and gentler regime. Last month, protesters were being shot at indiscriminately.
They started beating me.
Zimbabwean hospitals are treating dozens of wounded activists like Owen Chari, who says he was kidnapped near his home by security personnel in plain clothes.
They said, tell us the person who was sponsoring you guys, who was giving you money to demonstrate. And I told them, there's nobody who gave me even 1 cent.
After the joy following Mugabe's ousting in 2017, activists like Pastor Ivan Mawarire are now feeling dejected.
It is a tragedy. and a shame that this is where we are as a nation. Right now, I have left underage young boys. They're 16-year-old boys who've been locked up for 3 weeks.
Still ahead, we'll get your weather news. We'll be going down to Cape Town. Louis standing by. And then Andrea Bocelli's soaring voice and hot air balloons elevate the Saudi Arabia Winter Festival. Let's get your weather in Cape Town. Here's Louis Fernandez. Good evening to you, Louis. What's the weather looking like?
Well, good evening, Sally. Over the last few days, we've seen lots of strong thunderstorm activity over South Africa, but thankfully that's mostly settled down and we're going to have a fairly dry night, and into tomorrow morning there'll be moisture moving in over the eastern parts, bringing some fog to the high ground over Mpumalanga, Limpopo, KwaZulu-Natal, maybe even Gauteng, as well as a bit of early morning drizzle to the escarpment areas. Heading into the afternoon, we could see a few patchy thunder showers returning to the north, very isolated for those parts, while it's going to be a very hot day in the west with a fire danger warning in place. And then towards tomorrow evening, very little in the way of rain once again, but it becomes cloudy for some areas along the southern and east coasts and the adjacent interior. The Northern Cape will see some very high temperatures, a 40-degree maximum for Uppington, while Springbok won't be far behind with a high of 39 degrees. 41 for Vredendal and a sunny skies. Cape Town, you're going to become windy. It still stays hot though with 31-degree maximum temperature. Crossing over into the Eastern Cape, a warm afternoon for PE at 25 along with light winds, dry weather all across this province. And for KwaZulu-Natal, there's only a slight possibility of a few showers and thunderstorms under partly cloudy conditions, not forgetting about the morning fog that's expected for the area as well. A few thunder showers likely for some areas in Mpumalanga, maybe even a few drops of rain around Skukuza early on in the day. And then for Limpopo, morning drizzle around Thohoyandou and Tzaneen. And then in the afternoon, that will be dry, but a few thunder showers elsewhere in the province. In the northwest, a couple of thunder showers in this area, mostly dry for Klerksdorp, Potchefstroom and Vryburg. And we see a generally dry day in the forecast for the Free State, where it will be hot as well. And finally, for Gauteng, temperatures are going to be higher in your area, and there is only a 30% chance of thunder showers in the province. Taking a quick look ahead to what you can expect for Thursday, we're going to see thunder showers continuing in the northern parts of the country. It'll be cooler for KwaZulu-Natal along with light rain. And then on Friday, thunder showers spread deeper into the northern and eastern Cape, while those temperatures will once again rise into the 30s for KZN. That's all from the Weather Centre. Sally, it's back to you.
Thank you very much, Louis. And finally, Italian tenor Andrea Bocelli stole the show at a winter festival in Saudi Arabia recently. Bocelli belted out some of his most famous songs. He was accompanied by a 200-strong orchestra and choir. The festival in the city of Al Ula also saw some 60 hot air balloons take to the skies. Al Ula is home to UNESCO World Heritage Site Mada in Salah, a 2,000-year-old city carved into desert rocks. Let's recap your top stories this evening. A Durban University of Technology student has been killed, apparently during clashes today with campus protection personnel. Millions allocated for drought-stricken farmers has gone missing in KwaZulu-Natal. 4 years on, authorities say they will make arrests soon. And in Zimbabwe, footage smuggled out of the country shows how citizens are being intimidated and arrested after the recent fuel hike protests. And do remember to catch that full story on Checkpoint at 10 o'clock tonight. From me and the team, it's a very good evening.